Hello everybody, it is Kia Sangria back again. Thank you so much for tuning in to my channel again, and if you're new here, welcome. Please be sure to subscribe for more cosplay sewing content. In this video, I'm continuing to work on Simplicity 8434. I am now working on Harley's accessories. I do have part 2 and part 1 up on my channel, so you can watch them in the description down below, and I'll also leave some links up top for you as well. Right now I'm working on the cowl, so I'm just sewing the darts that I cut into this closed. So now I'm going to go ahead and lay both cowl pieces right sides together, and I'm going to take my time pinning these together, that way everything just comes out nice and tidy after I've sewn it. Now I apologize in advance, but you will see me working off 2 machines in this video. I have a total of 5 machines, guys, and sometimes when one runs out of thread, I'll look for the one that has the color that I'm using, and then I will go ahead and just switch to that one. So I apologize in advance if you're seeing different machines during this video. When you're working with spandex, again, take your time with pinning things in place. Spandex is very slippery and it moves around a lot while sewing, so pinning it just ensures that everything stays where you want when you're sewing. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach these pieces together, removing my pins as I go. So for the top and bottom of the cowl, I'm going to go ahead and cut out some elastic and then just attach it with a zigzag stitch to the top and bottom. And here I'm just folding over that elastic and then sewing it closed, encasing the elastic in the inside. And you'll do this for the top and the bottom, guys. So with that completed, I'm just going to go ahead and sew some snaps onto the front of the cowl, that way it can close. So I'm going to attach those with some hand sewing, and then we'll move on to the next part of the cowl. So now I'm working on the rest of Harley's cowl. I am working on the little triangle things that are on either end of the cowl. I decided to make mine longer, so I actually retraced the pattern and just made it a little bit bigger because I wanted it to be a little bit more dramatic than what the pattern was originally giving. So now I'm just sewing the pieces to this part right sides together. And you'll repeat this step for the black one as well. So RIP to the pillow that I had to sacrifice for this part, but I just took some polyfill stuffing. You can get this from your local craft store or Michael's, Joann's, Walmart, whatever you have available. And you'll just need to take some of that and then stuff it into the little triangle part. I'm using a pen to ensure that I have completely turned the piece right side out completely, That way I can get more stuffing inside. So take the stuffing apart just so that it's not lumpy, and then go ahead and just stuff it in there until it's full. So this is the part that made my arms really tired. I don't know how you would do this without having some type of wig stand or wig head, but I'm just putting the cowl on my wig head, and I'm gonna use this to apply the triangle parts. I think the hardest part about this was figuring out the placement. So just play around with it, pin it in place, and then just go ahead and hand sew it. I find using a wig stand head is so much easier because you can just kind of go ahead and like turn it around whenever you need to. It just makes it easier to sew this piece on. And you'll repeat the same step for the other side as well, making sure to try to match them up so that they're even. It's okay if you don't, but do try your best at this step. And this part does take some time, so, you know, sit down, put something on, and, you know, just go about this part slowly. It's very tedious, but I promise you the end result made it worth it. So for the next part of her accessories, we're going to work on the collar. I have already applied interfacing to my collar pieces, so now I'm just going to pin them right sides together so that I can stitch them and then turn them right sides out. So now I'm going to go ahead and just turn this piece right side out, making sure to just poke out any corners, that way I can flatten them later with some ironing. So with a hot iron with the steam feature off, just go ahead and press this piece. And then do a basting stitch across the top to keep both ends together. So for the collar band, I'm just going to neaten it up by cutting off any excess interfacing. And then I'm going to fold the top edge by 3/8 and then press that into place. With my right sides together, I am going to pin the raw edge of the collar band, keeping the folded edge free. I'm going to pin that right sides together to my collar flap. And then I'm going to stitch that in place. Next, I'm going to fold over the folded edge of the collar and I'm going to pin that in place so that I can start slip stitching that closed. So I'm just going to take some thread, run it through my little beeswax holder just to keep the thread from tangling amongst itself, and I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch the collar to the collar flap. Now to close the collar, I'm going to go ahead and take some snaps, and we're going to sew 3 on each side for a total of 6. I think this is the part of the costume that I liked the least, just because there was a lot of hand sewing involved, and I really don't like to hand sew if I can help it. It's my least favorite thing in the world, but is a necessary evil when working on projects such as these. So the next and last step is to work on the cuffs. I'm just going to go ahead and cut off any excess interfacing before sewing. And for this, we're going to fold the cuff pieces in half, and we're going to sew them right sides together, leaving a small opening so that we can turn it right side out. So now I'm just going to go ahead and turn those right side out using the little opening that we left. Do not worry about this opening, as we will be slip stitching this closed before we continue to the final step. Now before moving forward, you're just going to take a hot iron with the steam off and just press these into place. You want these as flat as you can get them. And to make sure, I'm using a clapper. You don't have to do this, a pile of heavy books will do, but anything you can to make sure that these are as flat as they can be. And we're going to go ahead and just slip stitch that opening closed. Now to ensure that these pieces close, we're going to be using some snaps one more time, and we're going to attach 2 on each end of each cuff. Now for this next step, you'll just need some ribbon. And with the ribbon, you'll cut off as much as you think you'll need using a lighter to seal the edges. So to make the cuff, I'm just doing a zigzag with the ribbon, and I am pinning it in place at each step. And this is just going to allow me to keep everything in place. That way I can go in and then hand stitch everything down to form the cuff. This video is sped up, but this did take me quite some time just because both fabrics were very slippery and silky, so the ribbon did move around a lot, even with the pins inside. So this is definitely a step that you really want to take your time on. It took me 2 days to do this because I kept getting frustrated. So this is really something that'll test your patience at the end of this project. And I was really upset because I felt like I was doing so well, and then I had to make these godforsaken cuffs. But I got through it, and you will too, eventually. And so here you can kind of see that cuff taking shape. I'm just going in, I'm continuing to pin this, so I'm using a lot of pins just to keep this in place. That way I can go in later and then hand stitch it. And if you've made it this far, all the way from part 1 into part 3, thank you so much for coming back and checking out these videos. It is my pleasure to make these videos for you guys. and I am really happy that I could leave a piece of cosplay sewing on the internet like this. So thank you guys so much for watching at home. I have more sewing videos to come, so please make sure that you're subscribed and stay at the end of this video to see my Harley Quinn costume in action. And that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.